All right, today we're jumping into something happening in the Indian state of Meghalaya. It's a new policy and wow, it's setting off some major alarm bells. People are saying this could completely change the game for free speech online. So what's the deal? Let's break it down.
Okay, just think about this for a second. What if, before you could post anything on social media, a news story, your own opinion, even just organizing something with friends, you had to register with the government first, get their stamp of approval? That's exactly the situation we're talking about here.
Okay, so what exactly is this policy? Let's get into the specifics of what's causing all this controversy.
So, here's the bottom line. The policy is called the Meghalaya Public Communication Policy, and it requires mandatory government registration for, well, pretty much anyone, individuals, groups, if you're putting out news or content on social media. The official reason? They say it's to regulate communication. But, and this is a big but, a lot of people are looking at this and seeing something else entirely. They're seeing a push for control.
And that idea of control brings us to the biggest fear that critics have. It's this concept called the chilling effect. You hear that term thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean in this context?
It's all about self-censorship. Think about it. If you know you're on a government list just to be able to post online, you might start to think twice, right? You might hesitate to criticize a policy or talk about something sensitive. Not because you've been told not to, but because you're worried about what could happen. It's this fear, this threat of scrutiny that can silence people just as effectively as an outright ban.
So we have this chilling effect, but the argument against the policy goes even deeper. It's being framed as a direct attack on free speech on a constitutional level.
Yeah, a direct assault on fundamental rights. That's about as serious as it gets, and the right they're talking about is from Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, which is the bedrock of free speech there. The argument is simple. Making you sign up with the government before you can exercise your right to speak, well, that's not really a right at all, is it?
This gets into a really important legal idea called prior restraint. Basically, that's a fancy term for when the government puts itself in the middle and acts as a gatekeeper, deciding what can and can't be said before it's even said. And that's what critics say this policy is. It's not just some simple regulation, it's a roadblock, a bureaucratic tool meant to intimidate people and control the conversation. Okay, so if the argument is that this is all about control, who exactly is being targeted? Well, the source material is pretty specific about who it thinks is in the crosshairs. Yeah, this isn't seen as some random blanket policy. The analysis suggests it's aimed squarely at three groups. First, you've got independent journalists, the ones who often operate outside the mainstream and are critical of the government. Second, social activists, who use these platforms to mobilize people and challenge what the government is saying. And third, marginalized communities, for whom social media is often the only way their voices can be heard. So the claim is this is a very strategic move to silence dissent and control the story.
So given all these pretty serious concerns, what's the path forward? Well, the sources don't just point out the problem, they also lay out a plan for how people are being urged to respond.
It really breaks down into three key steps. First, just speak out. Publicly condemn the policy and make it clear it's not okay. Second, get behind the legal challenges. Activists and civil rights groups are fighting this and they need support. And third, and this is kind of the poetic part, use social media, the very tool they're trying to control, to build a movement, raise awareness across the country, and put pressure on the government.
And there's even a specific tool for that third step. People are being encouraged to use the hashtag #ScrapMeghalaya policy. The idea is to connect everyone who's against this and turn what might seem like a local state issue into a huge national conversation about what free speech really means.
And really, this whole situation boils down to one massive, tricky question, doesn't it? We all know misinformation is a problem, so the idea of regulation sounds reasonable. But where do you draw the line? When does a rule designed to protect people become a weapon to silence them? Who gets to decide? That's the huge question this policy puts right in front of all of us.